אז שלום לכולם, ברוכים הבאים לוובינר של GoGIS ששמחה לארח את היר היום, להציג בפניכם את הטכנולוגיות שהיא מציעה בתחום המיפוי. אז אני אתן הקדמה קצרה. כאמור, המטרה היא לצמצם בדיבורים ולתת יותר למצגות לדבר. אז אני אעשה רק הצגה קטנה עלינו, מי אנחנו GoGIS, מה ה-API'ים השונים שהיר מציעה, ואני מיד אעביר את רשות הדיבור לווליד, מהנדס מטעם היר שנמצא איתנו פה היום, שאנחנו מאוד שמחים לארח. לאחר מכן יגאל, מנהל הפיתוח שלנו, שיציג איך להתחיל את הצעדים הראשונים עם היר, ליצור מפה בסיסית, לעצב אותה, להוסיף עליה מידע ועוד. אתם מוזמנים להשתמש במודול של השאלות, ה-Q&A, לשלוח לנו שאלות במהלך הוובינר, אנחנו נשתדל לענות עליהם, מי שלא מציג כמובן, ומה שלא נספיק תוך כדי נענה על השאלות, נשאיר כמה דקות בסוף לענות על שאלות. אז מבחינת הדוברים שלנו, אלו הדוברים. ווליד, thanks a lot for being with us today. We're very excited about your presentation. יהודית, מנהלת קשרי הלקוחות שלנו, יגאל, מנהל צוות פיתוח, ואני אבי, ה-CTO של GoGIS. אז קצת עלינו. חברת GoGIS קיימת כ-25 שנה, מתעסקת אך ורק בתחום ה-GIS, ולכן אנחנו מאוד מקצוענים בתחום, עם היסטוריה של פרויקטי ענק, גם בתחום הפרטי, גם בתחום הביטחוני והממשלתי. היתרון שלנו זה שאנחנו מייצגים מספר רב של טכנולוגיות הכי נפוצות בשוק, מיד נעבור עליהם, ולכל אחד היתרונות והחסרונות שלו, ובגלל שאנחנו לא מחויבים לספק אחד, אנחנו יכולים להתאים את הפתרון הטוב ביותר ללקוח, הן מבחינת דרישות, ביצועים, ולא פחות חשוב, מבחינה תקציבית. יש הרבה פערים במחיר לפעמים בין הספקים השונים. אנחנו מאוד ממוקדים לקוח, לפי הצרכים של הלקוח. אנחנו מלווים בשלב ההטמעה של הפרויקט, מלווים את צוותי הפיתוח, זה על פי רוב. במקרים מסוימים אנחנו גם יכולים לעשות את הפיתוח באופן מלא מקצה לקצה, אבל ברוב המקרים אנחנו פשוט מלווים צוותי פיתוח שמפתחים בעצמם את המוצרים שלהם. וכמובן נושא התמיכה תוך כדי חיי הפרויקט, שזה דבר מאוד מאוד חשוב, כי עם הלקוחות הגדולים, עם הספקים הגדולים האלה קשה מאוד ברוב המקרים לדבר, ולנו יש דלת פתוחה בדרך כלל למהנדסים עצמם, וככה שאנחנו מאוד יכולים לעזור בכל אתגר שהלקוחות שלנו נתקלים. אז כמובן אנחנו מציגים היום את הפתרונות של היר. היר היא לא רק ספקית טכנולוגיה בתחום המיפוי, אלא גם ספקית מידע. יש את גוגל שהתחלנו איתם את הדרך, את טומטום, מפבוקס ועוד, גם חלקם גם ספקיות מידע, שמידע בתחום ה-GIS זה נדבך מאוד חשוב לכל מערכת מידע, אבל למערכת מיקום בפרט. אז לא הרבה יודעים, אבל כך לפחות לפי אתר Tech Insight ועומדיה, היר מובילה את תחום המיפוי והמיקום, הן מבחינת טכנולוגיות מתקדמות בתחום, והן מבחינת הנתונים, היקף הנתונים העצום שהם צוברים. ונצלול קצת למספרים. אז היר חברה שקיימת מעל ל-35 שנה בתחום המיפוי, קהילת מפתחים עצומה של מעל ל-600,000 מפתחים, שזה אומר שרוב הסיכויים שכל תקלה או אתגר שנתקלתם בו, מישהו נתקל בו בעבר לפניכם, ותוכלו למצוא פתרונות קיימים. לא הרבה יודעים, אבל היר מותקנת בצורה מובנית אצל יצרניות רכב, וככה הם קיימים בעצם על מעל ל-40 מיליון רכבים, וככה הם צוברים המון מידע. כמובן תמיכה 24/7. קצת מבחינת הטכנולוגיות, אז יש את השירותי מיקום הבסיסיים, אם זה ה-Geocoding, המרת כתובת לנ"צ על המפה ולהפך, חיפוש נקודות עניין, כמובן רינדור של מפה, תצוגה של מפה, יכולות מאוד מתקדמות של סטיילינג, יגאל ייגע בזה קצת אחרי זה, בעזרת ה-Here Style Editor, שמאפשר בעצם לערוך פחות או יותר כל דבר על המפה, להוסיף עליה מידע שלכם, וזה כמובן נתמך בכל פלטפורמות הפיתוח שאתם מכירים, ב-JavaScript, ב-TypeScript, בפייתון אפשר לפתח. יש גם מוצרים מוגמרים כמו ה-Here Navigation שמאפשר ניווט מנקודה לנקודה, שאפשר להתממשק אליו מכל יישום שלכם. והנדבך הנוסף שרציתי לדבר עליו זה היקף המידע העצום, שכבות המידע העצומות שיש להיר להציע. אפשר לצרוך אותם גם אונליין, אבל גם לרכוש את זה להורדה ולשימוש באופליין במערכות סגורות. אז אם זה תצלומי לוויין, כבישים, מבנים, אזורי עניין, תחומי שיפוט, נקודות עניין, חניונים ונקודות טעינה. הדגשנו את זה כי יהודית ווליד מיד הולכים לדבר על זה. אז אני סיימתי לברבר, ובואו ניתן לדוגמאות לדבר בעד עצמן. אני רק אגיד בקצרה מה הם הולכים להציג לנו. זה בעצם פתרונות של היר, סט של פתרונות שמאפשרים ניהול ציי רכב משלב התכנון, ציי רכב בכלל, או ציי משאיות, ובפרט אם הם חשמליים, כל התכנון שיכול להיות קשור גם בטעינה של הרכבים ועוד. אני לא ארחיב על זה, מיד יהודית ווליד ירחיבו על זה. אז שלב התכנון, לאחר מכן שלב המעקב אחרי הביצוע בפועל, תמיכה תוך כדי תנועה, אם יש בלת"מים, שינויים, אז אפשר לבצע אותם תוך כדי תנועה, ולבסוף ניתוח של הביצוע מול התכנון. So Walid, thanks again for being with us. The floor is yours, and Judith, thank you.
Hi everyone. Hi, thank you Avi, and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are excited to co-host this webinar with Here Technologies. And often we get asked the strengths and advantages that Here platform offers, especially when it comes to supporting complex business needs in industries like mobility, fleet management, public safety, and more. So today we're going to deep dive into these differences and showcase how Here's unique features can address specific challenges. I'm joined by Walid, Here's expert technical manager, and Walid will talk us through these features and some live demos in the life cycle of the applications in these industries. Walid, let's start at the beginning. How do location services like Here's fit into these life cycles?
Right. Yeah, thank you so much, Judith and Avi for having me, and it's a pleasure, of course, to be here with you today. And good morning, everyone who is live with us this morning. So reflecting on what Avi has presented and started with and what Judait has just mentioned, I guess today we are going to scratch the surface for the location services world, right? And discuss particularly how here can empower your business to optimize operation and enhance your customer experience. Uh, to make it more clear, I would like to start with like a nice morale behind it. So I was thinking to say, let's say I'm running a burger business delivery in the beautiful city of Monaco, let's say, and I receive few hundreds of orders every hour. Or maybe I'm running a ride-sharing mobility business across the country of Denmark, France, whatever, and I receive a lot of like few thousands of rides requests every hour. Then also I could be running a cargo fleet business across borders of continents like Africa, for example. And I guess so I mentioned three different diverse businesses and use cases. And maybe I have a good question to start with. Maybe it's to you, Judette. No pressure. I can take the question and the answer as well. So so across those different use cases, can you tell me what's the very common thing across those different industries and businesses?
I would think it's really about the high demand for accurate and reliable location services.
Correct. Well, yeah, to far extent that is very accurate. And surprisingly, regardless the diversity of those businesses that I've mentioned, somebody is running a burger or a food delivery business in general, then another company or another business is running mobility and cabs and so on. While at like a totally different kind of business or line of business, cargo shipments across different continents and so on. I guess exactly as you mentioned, Judith, the main common thing here, the main commonality is that all of those businesses, I would I wouldn't be exaggerating if I said like they wouldn't run efficiently without location services and location intelligence, right?
Right.
So in other words, to order a burger, you need to provide me with your address, right? So that I know where best to pick your order so that it comes to you as fresh as possible. Or if you're ordering a cab for ride sharing or ride hailing, you need to let me know where to pick you up and where to drop you off so that first of all I know accurately when I need to arrive for you to pick you up and how long the trip could be considering factors like traffic and also considering roads, whether I'm driving a two-wheeler like a scooter or driving a car, right? And also that can help you calculate a transparent fee for your customer as well. While if I'm running a or shipping exports across countries, I would of course need to understand the different nature of the roads because most probably I will be driving heavy trucks, right? So I need to understand where to pick and drop off things uh or goods, but most importantly, I need to understand the specifics of the roads that I would be driving on since I'm running heavy truck business, right? So I need to know where are the roads that are restricted for time, weight, height, and so on. And also, I would be interested to understand the toll cost across countries, even within the same country. Where are the rest locations, rest areas? What are the rest legal times for my drivers as well? So those are the main things which comes from a location service provider like here that can help you run your business efficiently, better yet, safe as well. So yeah, I guess let's start with the basics. Speaking
Yeah,
about
let's see some examples maybe.
correct. Yeah, let's dive into it right away and see some examples and speak about the basics. Uh, let me share my screen.
Thanks.
Okay, here's the share button.
In the meantime, we already have some questions coming in, and that's great. So thank you to all the attendees. Feel free to just post questions and we'll address them either as we go or towards the end or after.
Let me know if you're able to see my screen.
Yeah, we can see your screen. That's great. Thanks.
Fantastic. Right, let me take this guy away. All right. Yeah, let's see some examples. I'm a guy who believes in like seeing is believing. Let's see how things work in real life. So I was saying, yeah, let's start with the basics. So in this whole journey of baking things, delivering things to customers, or picking goods up and dropping them off and so on, this whole journey, what we call the life cycle of the logistics and transportation and mobility as well, they always start with getting a piece of information about this location, where I need to pick things up or where I need to drop them off. That often comes in a format of an address. It comes in that I'm closer by a specific place, closer by a public transit station, and so on. So with here forward and reverse geocoding, we can help you accurately map those two coordinates, which can help you reach to your destination safely and accurately, as I mentioned. So let's say I have this location right here. I have this address right here, where I need to map this into, or J-code this into coordinates. So as you can see here, it consists of, obviously this is a house number, as we can see on the map. It also consists of address components like street name, district, and so on. And better yet, as you can see here, we also support the 7 digits postal code. So whatever information you can pass me, that's fine. I will take it. Then I will be able to convert it into a location X and Y and Z, as you can see here. So what you see is just a demo interface. However, we are speaking about a RESTful API here with a lot of support for different parameters to control the response of the API. So I was able to, as I was just saying, I was able to ask the service to return back some information about this address. And as you can see here, I'm able to see a lot of information about this address. So obviously this has come to be an address of an house number type. So it's a very accurate, it's a pointer address. And it gives you back the postal code, the street, community, district, and so on and so forth. So all the levels of the address components are returned back. And also you can do more efficiencies running this into your system. So depending on the address quality score or the match level, you can also run your own analysis and do a couple of iterations and so on and so forth. Another example that I would like to speak about. So here we have provided the address in local language, right? And explicitly ask the service to return back the response in English. Let's do something more interesting. So you would expect, or I would say you wouldn't expect which language your customers are going to use, right? So you need to use a service that is very much flexible in terms of localization. You could receive it in Hebrew, Arabic, English, Farsi, French, whatever it is. So you need a service that can understand the input in different countries, then return back to you in your favorite language as well. So in the previous example, we used Hebrew as input and English as output. Let's do the vice versa then. So I'm currently using the address again with postal code and the 7 digits postal code, I mean, and so on. But the input is in English this time. Let's look at the response. So you may come and ask me, okay, so I need to run a full interface in Arabic, in Hebrew, in French, all right? However, regardless the input of my customer, then yes, we have a solution for that. So the API also support explicit languages. So here, what I've done, regardless the input, I ask the service to respond back to me explicitly in Hebrew. Then I again provided the address and I was able to retrieve all the response in Hebrew, as you can see in the local language. Again with all the components in the response. I hope that makes sense, Judith, so far.
Yeah, that's great.
Cool. All right. So I would like to still spend maybe a couple of more minutes speaking more about the capabilities of G-coding and reverse G-coding. So now we started with the first component, which is receiving address from the customers and convert those into J codes so that you know where exactly to reach and where to drive and so on. Let's think from a different perspective. Let's say I'm actually in the real-time operation thing and I need to translate the J codes that I have to an address. That's the first thing that I would like to do here. So let's say I'm receiving inputs or coordinates from my customer or from my interface, and I need to translate this into an address. So what I've done here, I've been using the reverse J coding, and as the endpoint name can tell, it is a reverse of the previous operation. So here I receive the coordinates of your location, then I'm able to translate this back or to reverse G-code this and receive information about this address, whether it's the country name, county, district, also the 7 digits postal code, and so on and so forth. It could be, again, it could be a home address, it could be a postal code, it could be a street, could be a district, based on the level that you have decided here. You could get right away to the type of the desired result. So for me, this is not interesting enough still. I need something more. Also, when I'm in the real-time operation, usually what happens that our customers from the transportation logistics, they come and say, all right, so my assets are mobile on the road and I need to retrieve information, much more information about the operation itself. So yes, the address is something that I can take for granted, of course. You can reverse geocode my coordinates, but what about retrieving more information about the road links itself? So usually if you have fleet running on the streets, you're interested to monitor speeds, for example. So using here reverse geocoding in the very same in the very same request, you can retrieve information about the road segment itself. So for this example today, I will ask the service to explicitly return back the limit for that,
One sec, Walid. I think we don't
so
hear you
that
well.
I can in real time monitor my operation and my fleet return back speed. Avi?
We can hear you now. You cut out
Oh,
for a
right,
little.
cool.
No, it's
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, so okay. So you can hear.
Yeah, now we can hear you back.
So you were saying you
All
can
right.
get the speed limits from the reverse geocode request.
That is correct. And for everyone who works in the industry of fleet and logistics, I'm sure they already know how expensive this piece of information is. Getting speed limit, again, in one single request, you don't need to do a lot of other transactions. It's one single request, and you can get the speed limit. Or again, what speed limit is one of the attributes that you can retrieve. We can speed much more than that. And again, this is just an interface. So here, as you can see, I'm able to set the show nav attributes parameter to retrieve the speed limits. You can see all the documentation available for this. We will make sure that the documentation is shared with you. So
when
let
you
me
say
have a
this,
look
sorry,
quickly on
when you
the.
say the speed limit, you're referring to the speed limit on that stretch of the road, right?
Correct, which is equivalent to the coordinates that you receive from your fleet or from your GPS signals or from your GPX traces, right?
Yes.
So as you can see here, I can get the maximum speed and the speed unit as well, which could be different based on the country, legal terms and so on. So you're able to, again, to monitor the speeding and overspeeding. So again, to the industry specific, again, I guess I'm not excited enough. I need something more, right? So usually if you're driving in busy areas and so on, you usually get a lot of noise from the GPS traces and so on. So we have some services that can understand or route match where you are driving, so that I'm making sure that you are snapped to the right road. But let's say, so if you have a look here, I've picked the location which is in between a couple of roads, right? So I can't really decide whether I'm driving this way or this way. And it often happens that I need to also understand which direction of road that I'm driving, so that I make sure that I'm picking the accurate results. So let's say that I received that this location is with heading of 45, and this is like an accurate piece of information that comes usually from the GPS signals. So the service is again smart enough to, based on the heading or the bearing that you receive from your GPS signal, to snap you to the right road, or to route match you to the right side or the right direction of the driving. So here, since it's 45 degrees, so most probably you will be driving on this stretch of road, then you can get the right speed limit for that. Then what happens if the GPS signal that I received is in the opposite direction? So obviously I would expect the result to come on the other direction of the road. Let's see, how did that work? I did not change anything, but only the bearing or the heading direction, while the coordinates remain the same. So as you can see here, the service is smart enough, thanks to the rich attributes that we have in the content. So we have the directions of the roads and so on and so forth. I'm able to understand that this coordinate with this bearing makes more sense to be driving in that direction. And this helps me in more advanced type of services and so on. Then you can also get some of the attributes. One of them I picked speed limits. So yeah, that's now I can say I'm satisfied with the results. I am really able to satisfy a lot of my business logics and business needs using the forward and reverse geocoding. Again, one hand, there are so many other attributes that you can set, so many other information that you can retrieve. We will make sure to share with you the documentation so that you can go through them and see how can those type of services can help you. Last thing that I would like to mention here, sorry, Judith, before I just don't want to lose any information behind me. So it's very important to mention that geocoding and reverse geocoding services comes in different formats or different modes. One of them is the online services, as you can see here. So you can access them online to within here platform, or they are also available on a self-hosted format, which can run behind your firewall. So if you're running sensitive operations where you don't really need your customer data or your own analysis data to go beyond your firewall, we also have the same offering as a self-hosted, which you can use for your use cases as well.
That's
Back to you,
great.
Judith.
That's great. Thank you. Let's have a look. How does here handle routing, especially when we consider different vehicle types?
Cool. All right. So yeah, once we are able to gather all the information about the address, the locations I'm driving to, usually the very next step is to route between different locations. For example, pick up and drop off, warehouse and the customer houses, and so on and so forth. So usually the routing comes in the picture. Let me just move this guy away. Let me get it here. All right.
So truck routing has its own set of challenges, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, of course. So I will speak about the truck routing, of course, but let's start with the basic or standard kind of routing. If your customer is running on passenger vehicles, so as we spoke earlier, so the main starting point or the basic was to J-code the addresses. So right now I have an origin and destination as an X and Y, and I need to know where to drive to reach to between those points, right? I guess you're losing me again, right? Do you still hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, cool. So yeah, so I was saying let's do the very basic stuff. So I would like to move from point A to point B. Again, just not to repeat myself, but this is a very simple interface that we built to demo the API. But at the end of the day, you should expect using this as a RESTful API or via one of our SDKs, JavaScript or mobile SDK. So today we will mainly focus on the REST API. So as you can see here, I pass the origin and destination and ask the service to return a few attributes here. And I'm driving a passenger car. So if I just go here, I'm driving a passenger car, and it could ask the service to either route me using the fastest or the shortest, right? So let's add the default mode. So as you can see here, I'm able to get the route, right, that drive you between the streets network and so on. But most importantly, this is one of the things that I need, of course. But the ETA, the estimated time of arrival, is my main guy here that I would like to know more about. So the service was able to return back the duration of the trip and also the traffic time that will be taken alongside with the length of the trip. So that's the first piece of information that we wanted to highlight when using the routing. But again, when we speak about more advanced routings and more advanced logistics scenarios, we should also consider different transit modes like trucks, as Judith mentioned. And I guess this is one of the main competitive advantages that HERE offers today to their customers globally, by letting customers know about the truck attributes. Let me do something cool. Before even looking at the truck routing, let me open the truck restriction layer here so that we can visualize this on the map. So as you can see here, let me even zoom out. So as you can see here, we have a lot of truck attributes or truck restrictions across the country, which identifies which stretch of roads that has weight restrictions. So maybe a stretch of road that you cannot drive a truck more than 3 ton of weight, or maybe 3 ton or 2 trailers, or maybe 3 ton and 2 trailers and 5 axles. So all of those attributes that you can define for your vehicle and match them with the road network restrictions. So we speak about height restrictions for the bridge clearances. We speak about weight restriction. We speak about time restrictions as well. There are some stretch of road that you cannot drive specific trucks with specific attributes beyond specific times as well. So we have all of that mapped for you so that to make sure that you run your truck fleet safely within the country as well. That's the first thing that I would like to speak about. And this information, again, is available via APIs, via GIS content as an offline data so that you can utilize it the way you would like. So let me switch to the truck mode restriction and maybe, so now I still have the passenger car. I will switch on the truck mode. So as you can see, first of all, we have difference here in the route, which means that the service was smart enough to understand that I am driving the truck right now. Let's look at the transport mode has been changed to truck. And the service respected some restrictions that obviously was around here, so that it had to detour the something more interesting. So for the same exact origin and destination here, let me go back to this to the passenger car. I had 29 minutes as total duration of the trip. While driving the truck, obviously and logically, I should expect longer time of the trip because I'm driving a heavier vehicle, which will be slower on the roads and obviously there could be some detours as well. So there is a difference in the total duration and the associated time taken for traffic as well. So I hope that's clear so far. If yes, then if we have any questions related to that, we can take them right away. Otherwise, I would like to speak about more advanced use cases as well.
Sure, we can continue and we'll address the one question that's already come in, which is relating to the next section, is about the EV, the electric cars. So
oh, okay, cool. So yeah, we definitely have something exciting for you then.
Yeah.
All right. So the first thing that we have looked at, the passenger cars, the light vehicles and trucks. Let's do something more interesting. And it has to do with the industry specifics as well. Based on our experience, many of our customers come and say that, you know what, I have some business regulations that could be related to their business regulations, to the legal authorities, that they need to cap the speed of their fleet, right? So that and even some of our customers installed some devices to cap the paddle press. So as much as you press on the paddle, it doesn't overspeed no matter what, above a specific speed. And this obviously also affect the ETA, which is again our main guy here. We need to understand how long it takes me moving from point A to point B for so many things, right? To cater for my customer time, for my fare, and so on and so forth. So the routing service is also capable of doing this thing. So what I've done here, let me pick this guy. So what I've done, I have capped the speed. I have explicitly set the speed to be at 50 kilometer per hour, which is this number in meter per second. So as you can see here, I'm able to provide the service with a speed cap. So you can tell me, okay, does this make any difference? I would say yes. Let's look at, again, the ETA, the total duration. So with the speed capped at 50 kilometer per hour, I get around 40 minutes for the same origin and destination, while looking at the previous one without the speed cap, so that I assume that the trucks are speeding, are driving either according to the traffic speed at this time of the day or for free flow if there's no traffic, then you get around 33 to 34 minutes for the same route. So I can observe here like 6 minutes longer due to the speed cap. So this can help you also cater for those scenarios.
Wow, it's clear that
as you can
Mhm.
see here, you can assign this in the response. Yes, Dick, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's clear that here can definitely handle many complex requirements of different businesses that, especially with trucks. But let's move on to electric vehicles. So what about range anxiety? It's a big concern for fleet managers and moving to EV, to electric vehicles. How does here address this?
Okay, so I might have a slight interest at the moment is again to look at the different scenario on truck. Then of course I will be rushing into the EVs. I know we also may have some time restrictions as well. I promise I won't take more than a couple of minutes more than that. Speaking about, again, different scenarios in the truck routing and so on, in the favor of our audience, of course. So quickly on the truck, so we spoke about height, weight restriction, and so on. Then maybe one of the business would say, okay, since you have the truck restriction, would your routing engine be able to map my fleet dimensions to your routing so that you match both my truck with your fleet restrictions, then you give me preferences on the roads and so on? The answer is yes. So let me quickly switch to the this truck here and switch this on. So let's quickly look at the capabilities of the routing engine. So here, so I picked truck routing, of course. Then as you can see here, I'm able to define the height for my truck. So here I have defined like 500 centimeters for my truck. It's 5 meters height. Then obviously it shouldn't be routed into any road that has clearance less than 500 centimeters, which is 500 meters. Think of bridges and so on. And if there is any violation on this road, please ask the routing engine to return it back. So this is what has happened here. So if we look at the response, because I set the one of my attributes, the height, to 5 meters. So it came back and say that this route violate a vehicle restriction. That means that they need to rethink of this route, or maybe change the type of the vehicle, and so on and so forth. You could also define the departure time so that you cater for the weight restriction, I would say. So here, if you look at the available parameters, again, this is like a subset of the parameters, not the superset. You can define the height, the weight, the length, maybe also the number of axles and the number of trailers and so on and so forth. Even if your truck is holding some poisonous material, some hazardous material, and so on and so forth, the map attributes will help you with that.
Oh, that's a lot of
Yeah,
detail.
that's yeah, it's so many of them.
Yeah, and we've had some questions already about the speed limits, the road restrictions in Israel, and how the coverage of here works in terms of smaller areas, villages, and things. And we definitely can send out some documentation about coverage later on. But here, as you can see, this is a map of Israel, and here definitely has good coverage of truck restrictions nationally. Thanks, Willie.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Speed limits, truck attributes coverage, and so many more details. Again, I believe we need to share more documentations on different services that we spoke about. We will definitely do that right after the webinar.
Thanks.
All right. So let me move to one of my main personal interests in this industry recently, which is quite recently as well. And we have done a great job on that space, providing users and customers with EV routing. And as Judith has highlighted, I guess it's worth noting that the main challenge today with moving into EV fleet and so on is the range anxiety. And I guess personally, I faced challenges into that as well. And that's why I'm depending more into here tools and here SDKs to use this for driving my EV as well. It's a big challenge. It's a big thing when you, especially if you fly to somewhere and you need to hire a car, and it is an EV, right? You don't really know the situation there. You don't know where to stop to refuel or to recharge your vehicle and so on. So you need to have a very smart routing engine. So let's have a look right away on how does this look and what I mean by that. So here, as you can see, I'm routing from point A and point B. And I have defined a few things on this route. So first of all, I'm driving an EV. So as you can see, I'm driving a car, but I have defined a lot of EV related parameters that are specific to my vehicle. So first of all, let's look at the screen here. Beside the classic things, right, that we take it for granted right now, the ETAs, the traffic included, and so on and so forth. But also I can see a new parameter in the response has been introduced as well, which is charging duration. So what happens here, if we go back and look at the request, so I provided my service with some information, like my initial charge at the moment is 13 kilowatt per hour. And for units and so on, you will find all of those in the documentation details. Then I also was able to tell the service that my maximum charge is 50 kilowatt per hour. And also those some different attributes about charging voltage and so on, which help the service to tell me that, you know what, if you're driving from here to there with the initially charge, then most probably you won't be able to reach here without stopping in between and charging your vehicle, right? With a charging stations that is compatible with your charging types, with your vehicle, and also it caters for the time taken to recharge based on the maximum voltage, based on your preference for the charging at destination as well. So if you look here, I have minimum charge at the destination. So if you know your own charging stations there, then you can put this as low as possible, right? Because you don't have any range anxiety once you reach your destination. However, if you're driving to somewhere where you're not very sure that you have a charging station there, then I would rather put this as high as possible so that I make sure that I can drive back and get to a destination. However, using here EV routing engine, literally you don't need to worry all about this stuff and about these things that annoys people who are driving EVs. So looking at the screen again, this proves that we have a significant coverage of the EV charging stations as well, and it is natively integrated with the here routing engine, so you don't need to worry about searching for charging stations alone. routing between point A and point B. No, you can use only the EV routing engine and give you all the information. And you can think of integrating this also with the dashboard of your EV so that it understands, it reads from the dashboard what's your current charge and what's your maximum charge, and so on and so forth. To this example, I would also like to take a moment and speak about different one. So that was a straightforward one from here to there. Let's look at this example. So this example, I've changed some of the parameters of the initial charge and the maximum charge and the type of connectors that I'm expecting. So what happened? The service was smart enough to stop me twice on my route to make sure that I never reach here without the charges that I'm expecting in my vehicle. And as you can see here, also it caters for the charging station and charging time that's taken at the charging stations. So it gave me two sections of the road, one from here to there, and the other guy from there to the final destination, everyone with the total duration counted for. So that's pretty much what I wanted to speak about initially on the EV routing. If you give me like again a couple of other minutes, I know I've been taking more and more of the couple of minutes. Let's look at one final use case. So it often happens that, again, I'm driving from this point to this point. It often happens that I have some restrictions that are related to zones that I don't need to drive through, or when I'm shipping special materials and due to safety, I need to avoid specific areas at specific times. Then you need the engine to understand that, for example, I here specifically ask the engine, as you can see, to avoid a specific area, right? So I could retrieve this from my back end, from my CRM system, from my ERP system, that I have specific zones with different fares or different safety indexes and so on. Then I would like to ask the service to avoid those polygons as it comes from my own database. So what happened here, that for the same route, as you can see here, so this is the original one that used to pass at this area. I specifically or explicitly asked the service to avoid this area, right? So the service was smart enough, again, to give me a route between the same origin and destination, avoiding this whole area, as you can see here. And it was also smart enough to provide me with alternatives of the charging stations along this route. Of course, this has an impact on the total ETA. So if we look at this ETA, for example, it was 1 hour, almost 18 minutes, while the other one is, due to the detour that has happened, it took me 1 hour and 29 minutes. So it gives you an impact right away on the ETA. It makes sure that it respects your restrictions and your business rules as well. And at the end of the day, the best part is that you don't really need to worry about finding charging stations along your route and so on and so forth. So of course, we have a different API for charging stations, but what we are speaking about here is the EV routing engine. Then there are so many other products that are related to the EV industry in general. I guess I hope that's clear from the EV part, and it makes sense for the attendees. Yeah,
Sure,
back to you.
sure. I mean, it's clear that here has comprehensive set of tools that not only meets but exceeds the demands for both truck routing and for EV and offline as well. And really, here differentiates itself in these fields and these differentiators. So we don't really have time to cover some traffic details. That we wanted to also go ahead and speak about the traffic and you know, how here can support the requirements there. But for now, I'm going to have to close off there. Walid, thank you so much. Really.
Thank you.
Thank
you, Walid. It was very impressive. Now we'll have to switch to Igal, that we didn't left enough time. So thanks a lot, Walid. It was very impressive. Now Igal will cover how to do your first step in order to do this kind of amazing solution based on hair technologies. אז יגאל, הבמה שלך.
שלום לכולם, שמי יגאל טפר, ואני רוצה להציג כמה דברים, כמה דוגמאות בקוד על HereMaps. קודם כל, יש לנו שני אפליקציות בענן של Here, זה Here Studio ו-Here Style Editor, שבעזרתם אנחנו יכולים לעצב את המפות שלנו או להעלות שכבות שלנו אם יש לנו דאטה משלנו. ה-Here Studio אנחנו משתמשים כדי להעלות את השכבות שלנו, גם לעצב, ואם אנחנו רוצים להשתמש בשכבות שקיימות אצל Here, אז אנחנו משתמשים ב-Here Style Editor, וכמה דוגמאות שיש לנו ממש פונקציונליות אשר אנחנו יכולים לעצב כל דבר, כל פיפס במפה שלנו. לדוגמה, אם אנחנו, סתם אני זורק צבעים שאנחנו נראה מיד את ההבדלים, אז אפשר, לדוגמה, שיניתי צבע של הים, של המים, כן? או שאם יש לנו בניינים ואנחנו מיד מקבלים, כמו שאנחנו רואים, מקבלים את השכבה תלת-ממד, כן, אנחנו יכולים לשנות את הצבע של הבניינים שלנו. את הדברים שאנחנו גם רואים ורגילים לראות בטכנולוגיות אחרות, וגוגל מפס נותן לנו הרבה שכבות מובנות שלא צריך לחפש. אוקיי, אחר כך אנחנו פשוט שומרים את הקובץ סטייל בפרויקט שלנו, ואנחנו יכולים להשתמש בעיצוב שאנחנו יצרנו בפרויקט שלנו. שלב הבא, כדי שאנחנו נוכל להשתמש כבר ב-HereMaps בפרויקטים, אנחנו צריכים API Key. API Key אנחנו יכולים ליצור בדף החשבון שלנו בפלטפורם HereCom. יש כמה אפשרויות לעשות הזדהות מול ה-API. הכי פשוט זה API Key, זה גם הכי שימושי, לפחות בווב. יש גם OS ויש גם Identity Provider, שכל אחד בוחר לפי הצורך שלו. וגם כמו שאנחנו תמיד ממליצים, שאחר כך לא יהיו כל מיני פריצות וגניבות וכל זה, ישר גם להגדיר את ה-Trusted Domains, מאיזה דומיין בעצם אפשר להשתמש ב-API Key שלנו, מאוד חשוב. ראינו כל מיני מקרים, אז מאוד ממליץ, אפילו חייב להגדיר את ה-Trusted Domain. יש גם פה אפשרות להגדיר groups, להגדיר הרשאות, permissions וכל דברים כאלה שאנחנו צריכים. אוקיי, דוגמה ראשונה, הכי בסיסית, כמו שהיה כתוב Hello World, זה דוגמה איך אנחנו יכולים להגדיר מפה על הפרויקט שלנו. יש לי פה דוגמה ממש קטנה, אז קודם כל אנחנו צריכים להגדיר רפרנסים ל-Here, כן, ובדף שלנו אנחנו צריכים פקד מסוג div, שזה בעצם מארח את המפה. ב-JavaScript, בקובץ JavaScript, אנחנו פשוט, כמו שאמרתי, מגדירים את ה-API Key שלנו, ובעזרת הפקודה New Age Map, אנחנו מייצרים את המפה, איפה אנחנו מגדירים מה יהיה הסטייל שלנו, מה יהיה המפות של בייסיס מפ שלנו, מה המרכז של המפה הזו וכמה דברים. וגם כדי שהמפה תהיה חיה, שזה לא יהיה תמונה סטטית, אנחנו מגדירים את ה-Event Listening Size, ופעם אחת אני רוצה להציג, פעם ראשונה אני רוצה להציג בלי set style, כדי שאנחנו נראה את ההבדל, ואם אנחנו נרפרש down, אנחנו רואים את המפה שלנו עם מרכז מפה בתל אביב, ואם אנחנו נחזיר קוד set style, שפה אנחנו בעצם אומרים למפה שלנו שאנחנו הגדרנו מה יהיה הסטייל שלנו, שאנחנו הגדרנו בסטייל דיזיין, איפה שראינו, אנחנו נראה שמיד המפה שלנו קיבלה עיצוב הנדרש. אוקיי? זו דוגמה הכי פשוטה, הכי בסיסית שיש. hello board כזה. דוגמה שנייה שרציתי להראות, פה זה כבר יותר מעניין. פה יש כמה דברים. קודם כל, השימוש בשירות איזוליין של קיר. יש לנו פה דוגמה גם של האוטו-קומפליט עם Geocoding, יצירת פוליגון, יש לנו מרקר ויש לנו גם דרג אנד דרופ של המאפ. אוקיי, אז קודם כל, איך עובד אוטו-קומפליט שלנו, של קיר. אוטו-קומפליט עובד גם בכל מיני שפות, כמו נגיד ג'רוסלם באנגלית, וזה לא צריך להגדיר משהו במיוחד, אז אנחנו ישר קפצנו לירושלים, שאם אנחנו רוצים להתחיל לכתוב בעברית, גם אנחנו מתחילים לכתוב בעברית, וישר מיד אנחנו קיבלנו את ה-recommendations, ואנחנו קופצים לתל אביב. אוקיי, זה דבר אחד, דבר הכי פשוט. עכשיו, השירות, אוקיי, המרקר. יש לנו מרקר שאנחנו יכולים להזיז את המרקר, והפוליגון וכל החישוב ישר עוקב אחרי. בסדר? אוקיי. בשירות של איזולייט, לפני שאנחנו נעבור לקוד, בשירות איזולייט יש לנו כמה הגדרות, קודם כל את הטווח, אם טווח זה בזמן או טווח בדיסטנס, במרחק, אז אנחנו יכולים לשנות את המרחק שאנחנו רוצים, או לפי זמן, אם אנחנו רוצים נגיד הודעה ששליח בא אלינו תוך X דקות, נגיד 10 דקות, אז אנחנו יכולים גם להגדיר את ה10 דקות שלנו, וכשנגיד שליח נכנס לפוליגון הזה, הלקוח מקבל הודעה שהשליח בא תוך X זמן. עכשיו גם יש לנו אפשרות להגדיר את המוד, אם זה רכב, אם זה הולכי רגל, אם זה משאית, ואנחנו רואים שגם הבדל החישוב מיידי על השינוי של הפוליגון לפי ההגדרות שלו. אוקיי, איך זה בקוד? מה קורה אצלנו בקוד? סליחה. מה קורה אצלנו בקוד? קודם כל, כמו כמו שאמרתי, אנחנו צריכים את המפ שלנו, דיף של המפ, ודיף של הסיידבר, הצד השמאלי שאנחנו ראינו. גם יש רפרנסים ל-JavaScript למנוע בעצם של העיר, וגם יש עוד ספרייה, מי שמכיר או מי שלא מכיר, ספרייה של טוב, זה ספרייה של אופן סורס, מאוד מפורסמת, שניתנת הרבה פונקציונליות בתחום ה-GIS, מאוד מומלץ. כדאי מאוד להכיר את הספרייה הזאת. בצד של JavaScript יש לנו כמה דברים, קודם כל מה שראינו, יצירת מפה, כן, הגדרה של כל ה-event listener, הגדרה של basement, routing service, Geocoding service, את המרקר, יצירת מרקר, גם כמה שורות של הקוד, 3 שורות של הקוד, ויש לנו מרקר על המפה, וגם האיבנטים של המרקר, אם אנחנו רוצים לעשות רק סטארט, סטופ, ומה קורה אחרי כל האיבנט, ה-calculate isoline, אנחנו יכולים לראות פה בעצם איך להשתמש בשירות של ה-isoline, איך, כן, כן, איך ליצור את הפוליגון של isoline, אוקיי, ורגע אני עוד רציתי להראות, גם עיצוב שיצרנו, קחתי להראות, סליחה, שפה במקביל יש לנו גם, אם אנחנו ראינו מהקוד איך לשנות סטייל, פה אנחנו יכולים לראות דינמי ממש טוב, זה שמשתמש יכול לשנות את העיצוב של המפה כפי שהוא רוצה, לפי רצון שלו, אז גם פה אנחנו יכולים לראות בקוד איך מחליפים את העיצוב דינמי לפי איזשהו אירוע, וגם גם כמו שדיברנו שוב בקובץ קונפיג, יש לנו הגדרות של המפה שלנו, את ה-PIK, את הסנטר, איפה אנחנו רוצים שיהיה מרכז של המפה. אוקיי, פה אנחנו יכולים לראות כמה קל להשתמש בשירות של ה-Autocomplete Geocoder של ה-Here, כמה שורות של הקוד, גם השורות של הקוד שאנחנו יכולים לקבל את התוצאות מה-Autocomplete, ואנחנו יכולים לראות בדיבאגר, אנחנו יכולים לראות בדיבאגר מה חוזר לנו בכל דבר, שחוזר את כל הנתונים, כולל נון צדיק. כן.
מעולה, מדהים. יגאל, אנחנו קצת קצרים בזמן, אז
כן, עוד שנייה. עוד שנייה, ואנחנו, כן, אוקיי, סבבה. יכולים לראות מה חזר לנו, איפה נון צדיק וכל דברים שאנחנו נדרשים, כולל שמות, כולל אדרס. אוקיי. טוב, לסיום, אני קצת כבר מתרכז. קודם כל, אני ממש ממליץ גם להיכנס לאתר של קיר, יש ממש דוגמאות וגייד מאוד מפורטת. כן, נגיד בדף הזה אנחנו יכולים לראות שזה בעצם ההסבר איך עובדת האפליקציה שאנחנו ראינו, כולל הקוד, כולל הסברים, מאוד מפורט, הכל ברור, תוך 5 דקות אתם יכולים לקבל אפליקציה שעובדת. יש את ה-Developer Guide, גם מאוד עשיר, כל הפלטפורמות שאנחנו מכירים, זה ווב, מובייל, עם רשימה של כל השירותים של קיר, עם דוגמאות קוד. כן, ופה גם כמה, אולי זה לסוף, הדוגמה איך להציג את ה-GeoJSON על המפה שלנו. אם יש לנו נתונים בדאטאבייס בפורמט של GeoJSON, אנחנו פשוט לאובייקט של HData GeoJSON טוענים את ה-JSON שלנו, ומיד אנחנו יכולים להוסיף את ה-JSON שלנו כשכבה נפרדת על המפה שלנו. זה בקצרה, כמה מילים, מקווה שזה מעניין. כן.
נפלא.
אבי?
יגאל, תודה רבה. אז אנחנו רוצים לסיים. יגאל, תודה רבה. כמו שהסברת, יש עשרות, אם לא מאות דוגמאות. האתר והדוקומנטציה של עיר מאוד מאוד עשירים, וניתן בקלות לקחת דברים משם, וזו התחלה מצוינת. גם כל הדוקומנטציה מאוד מאוד מפורטת. אז אני רוצה לסכם. אז כמו שראינו, יש להיר יכולות מרשימות, במיוחד בתחום הניווט של רכבים חשמליים. האיזוליין, שזה באמת יכולת מדהימה, שבניגוד לפעולות GIS קלאסיות שמסמנים רדיוס רגיל מסביב נקודה, ומנסים לחשב כמה זמן ייקח לנו להגיע לנקודה, זה מאוד רלוונטי מבחינת שליחויות. אז פה אתם רואים שהפוליגון הוא לא אחיד, אתם קובעים את הזמן שצריך להגיע, וכמובן שהוא תלוי אמצעי תחבורה. זה לא אותו דבר אם אתם מגיעים באופנוע או ברכב או במסעית, ואם אתם מגיעים מצפון אז לפעמים זה יותר מהיר כי הכביש יותר מהיר. זה יכולת מאוד חכמה שהיא מאוד רלוונטית במיוחד בתחום השליחויות. זהו, רצינו לדבר קצת על here SDK, אבל זה כנראה נאלץ להשאיר לפעם אחרת. וליד, so we will maybe schedule another webinar to speak about here SDK and much more capabilities and solutions that here have, and we'll be happy to have you to our next webinar too, but then we'll ask you to speak in Hebrew this time, so please prepare yourself for that. טוב, את הסטייל אדיטור שיגאל הציג, ואני רוצה ממש רגע לפני סגירה לענות על מרבית השאלות. ענינו ongoing, מה שלא אנחנו מבטיחים לחזור אליכם עם תשובה בהקדם. וליד, I want just if you can give a very short insight about AI. Judith, can you repeat the question for the audience, and Walid, if you can have some insight about it, and then we'll close the webinar. Of course, all the webinar is recorded and we'll publish it in our YouTube channel as soon as possible.
Great. Yeah, so somebody was just asking if we're going to talk about AI as part of here services. And since we are running very short in time, we'll need just in a few words. And of course, we can add that to a different webinar at a different time if, you know, for the longer answer, if there is one.
Yeah, of course. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Avi, for the summary, and Judith and the rest of the team. So AI, of course, AI is being used within here in so many different formats. First and foremost, we use AI to level up the map making, which is I always say it's one of the most sophisticated things to do in life, to make a map with all the attributes and all the links, all the attributes are linked together, all the assets, road networks, places, and so on and so forth. So to make a map using AI is a necessity, and this is something that we do every single day. We use different sources to detect changes, like probe data that comes from our automotive and business fleet customers and so on, to detect the road changes and reflect them in reality right away. We work on concepts like self-healing map, where map can heal itself, block roads, open roads based on traffic incidents, God forbid, accidents, or traffic jams and so on and so forth, which has a direct impact on your ETAs operation efficiency and so on. So this is one of the modes or one of the fashions how we are using AI. Also, we are producing what we call autonomous HD map, which enables our automotive customers to utilize AI on solving a lot of problems, specifically in the autonomous driving field, so that we already have been proving L3 autonomous driving in the public right now, using our HD map with the incorporated AI for specific tasks. And this has been happening since 2023, as far as I recall. Then let's have a look at the hype of the Gen AI, generative AI, right? So for Gen AI, it's always the idea of building a memory for a brain to go and fetch relevant information from this memory to respond back to a question, or to respond back to a challenge, or to respond back to a problem that you have. And back again to my start at the very beginning. I mentioned that it could be running a simple business like burger delivery business, or it could be running a more sophisticated, a more a dependent business like cargo shipments and so on. So all of these businesses may have a lot of questions that involve information like where X is, where Y will be in the future, where I need to stop at which station Z, and so on. So we spoke about charging stations, for example. One of the other challenges on top of range and anxiety is that that can accommodate all the EVs. Then I need to build some services that can predict, not just predict where I need to stop and at which station, that there is a probability that I will find a slot at the charging dock, that I don't need to stop for 10 or 15 minutes to charge my vehicle. Then I need more information about visiting those charging stations. Also, I need more information about the connector types at those stations and so on. Then we started building our own service, which is predicting the availability of EV charging stations, that of course need to have a huge and diverse data set that first of all knows where the charging station are, what are the type of connectors available at those charging stations, which times are the busiest during the day, what are the trips. So we also use the traffic information like origin and destination trips, so that we understand how frequent people visit those stations. And this is one single example. The idea here is that you simply need to have a service in your vehicle, for example, that you need to speak to or write to, and it responds back. So it is a pure Gen AI kind of a concept. I'm not speaking about Alexa style or Siri kind of services. No, I'm speaking about a service that's being educated on a very specific industrial data that can respond back with a lot of information that involves location. This is something that we have today. Of course, standard things that we just took it for granted, things like object detection, image to text, that helps us in a lot of augmented and autonomous driving experiences. This is something that of course we use it since, I would say, a decade. So this is in a quick overview where AI is being used within here. And of course, there are so many people that can speak more about AI within here, much better even than I do. But this is what I know, and this is where I use it today, where I collaborate with my colleagues within here to make our lives better, to make our drivings safer, I would say.
Amazing, thank you ווליד. יגאל, תודה רבה, תודה לכם המשתתפים שהייתם איתנו, מקווה שהיה לכם מעניין, ונשמח להיות איתכם בקשר. גם מי שביקש, גיל, את הדוגמאות, אנחנו נעלה את זה לגיט ונשמח לשלוח לכם קישורים לדוגמאות נוספות בפריימוורקים אחרים כמו React וכולי. אלה הפרטים ליצור איתנו קשר ולבקש את כל הדברים. לא תמיד יש לנו את האימייל של המשתתפים, אז אתם מוזמנים לשלוח או לחני או ליהודית, מנהלת קשרי הלקוחות שלנו, והם ישמחו לשלוח לכם. כאמור, אנחנו גם הקלטנו את הוובינר ונפרסם אותו בערוץ היוטיוב שלנו, נשלח לכם קישור גם לזה. אז תודה רבה לכולם, שיהיה המשך יום נעים ושקט.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Bye everyone. תודה.
All right, take care.
Cheers, bye.
Bye bye.